Some plants are beautiful. Some are easy to grow. Some look innocent in a garden center pot with a pretty label and a reasonable price tag. And some of them will destroy your garden. Not slowly, not eventually, right now, underground, along your fence line, through your neighbor's yard, into your foundation, spreading in ways you cannot see until the damage is already done. Today, I'm showing you 10 plants you should never grow in your garden. Plants that gardening books recommend. Plants that garden centers sell without warning labels. Plants that well-meaning friends hand you over the fence in a plastic bag and say, "Here, this spreads a bit, but it's lovely." It is not lovely. It is a problem that will take you years to fix. Stick around because number 6 on this list is sold in almost every garden center in the world and has been declared an invasive species in over 40 countries. And number 10 looks so beautiful, so harmless, so perfect for a sunny border that I want you to see exactly what it does before you make the mistake I made.
Number 1. English ivy. English ivy looks like a solution. Bare fence? Plant ivy. Ugly wall? Plant ivy. Shady corner where nothing grows? Plant ivy. It is evergreen, low maintenance, and covers problems fast. That is exactly the danger. Hedera helix does not stop at the problem you asked it to cover. It keeps going. Up walls, under roof tiles, into gutters, through window frames, between bricks. The aerial rootlets it uses to climb do not grip surfaces, they penetrate them. Given enough time, ivy will work its way into the mortar of brick walls and begin to separate them. It will lift roof tiles, it will block gutters, and cause water damage that costs thousands to repair. On the ground, it's worse. Ivy spreads horizontally through gardens, smothering everything beneath it, bulbs, perennials, young shrubs. It creates a dense mat that nothing else can push through. Birds nest in large ivy colonies, which protects it from cutting, and the berries spread seeds into wild areas where it causes serious ecological damage. Here's what makes ivy so difficult to remove once established. The rootlets that penetrated your brickwork do not come out when you pull the plant. They stay embedded in the wall, continuing to hold moisture against the surface and accelerating the damage even after the plant is gone. You remove the ivy, and the problem continues for years. There are better climbers: clematis, climbing roses, honeysuckle, all of them beautiful, none of them destructive. Ivy is not a solution. It is a problem wearing a solution's face.
Number 2. Mint. Mint in a pot on your windowsill is one of the most useful plants you can grow. Mint in open garden soil is one of the most destructive mistakes you can make. The difference between these two situations is absolute, and most people only discover it after it is too late. Mint spreads by underground runners called rhizomes that travel horizontally through the soil in every direction simultaneously. These runners move fast. A mint plant put in open ground in spring will have sent runners 3 feet in every direction by autumn. By the following spring, you will have mint appearing through your lawn, through your vegetable beds, through the cracks in your patio, and in your neighbor's garden. Here is what makes mint so hard to eradicate once it escapes. Every fragment of rhizome left in the soil becomes a new plant. Dig it out, and you will inevitably leave fragments, and every piece you missed regrows. Professional gardeners describe removing established mint from open ground as a multi-year project. Some describe it as impossible without removing and replacing the topsoil entirely. The solution is simple, and it must happen before you plant, not after. Always grow mint in a container. If you want mint in a border, sink the container, pot and all, into the ground, so the rim sits just above soil level. This stops the runners escaping over the edge. Check it twice a year and cut back any runners that have found their way over the rim. Mint is a wonderful plant. The garden is not its home. A pot is. Keep it there.
Number 3. Bamboo. Bamboo is the plant that garden designers put in other people's gardens. The ones who know what it does never plant it in their own. Running bamboo, and most of the bamboo sold in garden centers is running bamboo, spreads through thick, woody underground rhizomes that travel horizontally with extraordinary force. These rhizomes do not stop at fences. They go under them, through them, and emerge on the other side. They have been documented growing through concrete paths, cracking patio slabs, and pushing up through the floors of garden buildings. There are recorded cases of bamboo rhizomes penetrating house foundations. The speed is the other problem. Running bamboo can spread 4 to 6 feet in a single growing season in good conditions. By the time you notice new canes appearing 10 feet from where you planted it, the rhizomes have already traveled further. What you see is never where the plant actually is. Removal requires excavating every rhizome, and they travel deep as well as wide. A professional bamboo removal from an established planting can cost thousands. Many homeowners find it cheaper to move house than to remove mature running bamboo from a small garden. Clumping bamboo, varieties like Fargesia, does not spread aggressively and is genuinely beautiful and manageable. If you love bamboo, plant clumping. But if someone offers you a piece of running bamboo, or if a garden center sells it without identifying which type it is, walk away. The beauty is real. So is the damage.
Number 4. Japanese knotweed. Japanese knotweed is not just a garden problem, it is a legal problem. In the United Kingdom, it is illegal to allow Japanese knotweed to spread from your property onto neighboring land, and the presence of knotweed on or near a property can make it unmortgageable. Banks will refuse to lend on homes where knotweed has been identified within a certain distance of the building. Falopia japonica was introduced to Western gardens in the 19th century as an ornamental plant. It produces attractive heart-shaped leaves, hollow bamboo-like stems, and small white flowers in late summer. It looks, in early summer, like something you might deliberately choose for a large, dramatic border plant. What it does underground is the problem. The root system, technically rhizomes, can reach 10 feet deep and 30 feet horizontally from the visible stems. These roots exert extraordinary physical pressure as they grow, pushing through concrete, tarmac, brick walls, and drainage systems. In Japan, where it is native, natural predators keep it in check. In Western countries, nothing does. A fragment of root the size of your fingernail left in disturbed soil will grow into a new plant. This is why removing knotweed without professional help almost always makes the problem worse. Digging spreads fragments through the soil and multiplies the infestation. If you see Japanese knotweed in your garden, hollow stems, shovel-shaped leaves, distinctive zigzag growth pattern, do not dig it. Contact a specialist immediately. The longer it establishes, the more expensive the removal becomes.
Number 5. Wisteria. Nobody warns you about wisteria. Every garden magazine shows it draped over a cottage doorway, cascading purple flowers, romantic and timeless. Nobody shows you the photograph taken 20 years later when the same plant has worked its way under the roof tiles, into the gutters, around the drain pipes, and through the window frames. Wisteria sinensis is one of the strongest climbing plants in existence. The stems thicken over time into woody trunks that can exert enormous physical force, strong enough to bend metal guttering, lift roof tiles, and deform wooden window frames as the stems grow into gaps and expand. A mature wisteria attached to a house wall is not decorative, it is structural. It becomes part of the building whether you want it to or not. The roots compound the problem. They travel far and deep seeking water sources, which means drainage pipes, which means blockages that can cost thousands to clear. Here is the specific mistake most people make. They plant wisteria against their house wall because that is where they have seen it look beautiful. Do not do this. If you want wisteria, and it is genuinely one of the most spectacular flowering climbers in the world, grow it over a pergola or a purpose-built strong metal structure well away from the house. Prune it twice a year in summer and late winter without fail. Wisteria rewarded with proper management is extraordinary. Wisteria planted against a wall and left to do what it wants is a structural repair bill waiting to happen.
Number 6. Buddleia. This is the one I told you about. Sold in garden centers across the world, recommended in countless gardening books and magazines, planted by well-meaning gardeners who want to help wildlife, and declared an invasive species in over 40 countries. Buddleia davidii, the butterfly bush, produces those long, fragrant flower spikes in purple, pink, white, and deep red that butterflies cannot resist. That part is true, and it is genuinely beautiful. What nobody tells you at the garden center is what happens to the seeds. A single Buddleia plant produces up to 3 million seeds per year. Those seeds are light, wind-dispersed, and capable of germinating in almost any conditions: cracks in walls, railway embankments, riverbanks, waste ground. Buddleia has colonized vast areas of disturbed habitat across Europe and North America, crowding out native plants and reducing the biodiversity that the butterflies it attracts actually depend on to survive. In urban gardens, it spreads prolifically. Seedlings appear in gutters, in wall crevices, in neighboring gardens, along fence lines. Each seedling grows fast, and if not removed, becomes a large shrub within 2 years. The solution, if you already have Buddleia, is deadheading every spent flower spike before seeds form, a significant commitment on a large plant. Stero varieties like Buddleia Lo and Behold have been bred to produce little or no viable seed and are the responsible choice if you want the flowers without the spread. The butterflies need wildflower meadows and native plants more than they need Buddleia. Plant native alternatives. The wildlife will follow.
Number 7. Lily of the Valley. Lily of the Valley is one of the most requested plants I am asked about. People see those small, white, bell-shaped flowers, smell that extraordinary fragrance, and want it immediately. I understand completely. And then I tell them what it actually is, and I watch the expression change. Convallaria majalis is one of the most toxic plants in common cultivation. Every part of it, leaves, flowers, stems, roots, the water it has been standing in, contains cardiac glycosides that cause severe poisoning in humans, dogs, cats, and most other animals if ingested. It is particularly dangerous because children are drawn to the small white berries it produces in late summer, which look like miniature green and red pearls and are extremely toxic. Beyond the toxicity, Lily of the Valley spreads aggressively by rhizomes that are nearly impossible to eradicate once established. It forms dense colonies that exclude everything else, spreads into lawns, and because it is so toxic, nothing eats it. There are no natural checks on its spread in a garden setting. And it is genuinely difficult to remove. The rhizomes run shallow but wide, and any fragment left produces new growth. Complete removal from an established bed requires excavating and replacing the topsoil. If you have children or pets, this plant has no place in a garden they access. If you do not, grow it only in a contained raised bed with solid sides that prevent rhizome spread. The fragrance in spring is one of the finest things in the plant world. The risks that come with it are real, and they are serious.
Number 8. Horsetail. Horsetail has been on this planet for over 300 million years. It survived the extinction event that killed the dinosaurs. It has outlasted every ice age, every drought, every geological upheaval the Earth has produced. And it will absolutely outlast your attempts to remove it from your garden. Equisetum arvens spreads through spores and through an underground root system that reaches up to 6 feet deep, deeper than most gardening tools can reach, deeper than most weed killers can penetrate.
The roots are coated in a waxy layer that resists chemical treatment. Pulling the visible stems achieves nothing. The plant simply regrows from roots that were never touched. Most gardeners who inherit horsetail in a new garden spend years fighting it before accepting that it cannot be eradicated, only managed. Management means cutting it repeatedly throughout the growing season to weaken the roots over time, a process that takes years, not months, and requires absolute consistency. Miss a season, and the roots recover everything they lost. The most important thing I can tell you about horsetail is this. If you are buying a new property, walk the garden carefully and look for those distinctive jointed green stems. If you find them, factor the cost of long-term management into your offer, because once horsetail is in the ground, it is there indefinitely, and no one currently alive has found a reliable way to end that.
Number 9. Ornamental grasses. Not all ornamental grasses are a problem. Some, like Fargesia bamboo, blue fescue, and Karl Forester feather reedgrass, are well-behaved, clump-forming, and completely manageable. This is specifically about the ones that are not, and there are several that are sold widely, look spectacular in the first season, and become serious problems within 2 to 3 years. Miscanthus sinensis, in certain climates, self-seeds prolifically, producing hundreds of seedlings that are far more vigorous than the parent plant and spread into natural areas. Cordyceria celowana, pampas grass, produces millions of wind-dispersed seeds, has razor-sharp leaf edges that cause serious cuts, and forms clumps so large and so dense that removal requires professional equipment. It is listed as invasive in multiple countries and banned for sale in others. Imperator cylindrica, Japanese bloodgrass, is one of the most visually striking ornamental grasses available, with those luminous red leaf tips that catch light in a way no other plant quite manages. It is also listed as one of the world's most problematic invasive species in warmer climates, spreading aggressively by underground rhizomes and displacing native vegetation across vast areas. Before you plant any ornamental grass, spend 5 minutes identifying whether it is a clumping or running variety and whether it has an invasive designation in your specific region. The clumping ones are genuinely excellent garden plants. The running ones are problems you will still be managing a decade from now. Number 10. Giant hogweed. And here we are at number 10, the one I told you I needed you to see before you made the mistake I made. And this one is not about damage to your garden or your property. This one is about damage to you. Giant hogweed, Heracleum mantagasianum, is one of the most visually impressive plants you will ever see in the wild. It grows up to 15 feet tall, produces enormous architectural leaves several feet across, and carries large, flat white flower heads that look like something from a botanical illustration of a prehistoric world. When I first saw it growing along a riverbank, my immediate thought was, I want that in my garden. Do not ever touch this plant. The sap of giant hogweed contains furanocoumarins, compounds that cause a reaction called phytophotodermatitis. When the sap contacts your skin and is then exposed to sunlight, it triggers severe chemical burns that can appear hours or even days after contact. The burns are deep, blistering, and extremely painful, and the resulting scars and hyperpigmentation can persist for years. Eye contact with the sap can cause permanent blindness. It is illegal to plant giant hogweed in many countries. It is the subject of active eradication programs, and it still appears in wild areas, along riverbanks, on wasteland, because it self-seeds prolifically, and the seeds remain viable in the soil for years. If you find it on your property, do not cut it, do not pull it, and do not let children anywhere near it. Contact your local authority. They will advise on safe removal by professionals wearing protective equipment. The most dangerous plants in the world do not always look dangerous. Sometimes they look extraordinary. Giant hogweed looks extraordinary, and it will put you in the hospital.
10 plants, real damage, and almost none of it comes with a warning label at the garden center.
The most important thing gardening ever taught me is this: a plant is not beautiful or ugly, safe or dangerous in isolation. It is those things in the context of where it grows, what it touches, and who is near it. The plants on this list are not villains. They are simply plants growing exactly as they evolved to grow. The mistake is ours for putting them somewhere they were never meant to be. Now you know, and knowing is the only protection that actually works. Drop a comment and tell me, have you got any of these in your garden right now? Which one surprised you most? I read every comment. I will see you in the next one.